So I went to Shepton Mallet Prison the other day. It was really interesting. So this video is going to be split up into three main parts. First, it's going to be a little bit of history about the prison, and then some first-hand accounts from people that work there, and then some general ghost stories. I'll drop down the times I start talking about each part in the description if you want to skip over any parts. It was really interesting researching this prison. There's a lot going on. So the prison was built in 1610 and was only closed recently in 2013. This made it the oldest working prison in the UK. There were regular outbreaks of gall fever, ulcers, jaundice, asthma, itch and venereal diseases. The only real medical aid was the local doctor being called to pronounce a death. Those who died here were buried just outside the prison in unmarked graves. People were executed via hanging or by firing squad. The hanging room still exists today. Many people were killed here, and the last death sentence was in 1945, when the prison was under military use. 18 American servicemen were executed here from 1942 to 1945. 12 Shepton men were executed here as they were sympathizing with the rebels. John Lincoln was the last civilian to be executed. These are just some of the people who met their end at this prison. So there have been a few interviews with workers at the prison to see what they have to say about it. I'll leave a link down below to the article, but I'm going to tell you some of their paranormal accounts now. The question asked was, have you ever personally seen a ghost in the prison? One person said, I was looking up after a late night group left, and I knew I was the only person on site. And yet, as I ventured into the treadmill, I saw a tall gentleman walk towards me. I could make out his face and hat. I made a wide berth around him, and he simply vanished. I've heard doors slamming and whistling in the wings. A lady I was with at the September event felt her hair being stroked, and nobody was nearby. When we did our first overnight stay, a group of 4 were in the exercise yard, and 3 of them all said they saw an old lady sat on one of the walls surrounding the gardens. One of the 3 ladies walked up and asked if she was okay. The figure got up and walked away in silence. The 3 ladies that saw her were shocked at what they saw, as they thought it was so realistic, but dressed as if she was from the 1600s/1700s, with a shawl and dress. She was also bent over as she walked. We did have a ghost hunting group here that said they saw something similar but in a different location. We also have some regular ghost hunters who took some sounds and recordings. In the kitchen about a year ago, they picked up a name of a gentleman called Cobb, who turned out to be the first American military to be hanged. Staff members Sarah and Jenny also spoke of a prison officer talking about a prisoner who had been hung in the execution room. Whilst he was telling an intrigued audience about this man and the guards who executed him, he felt a burning sensation on the back of his hand. When he looked down, he saw what claimed to be a cigarette burn appearing before his very eyes. No one in the room was smoking at the time. It's strictly prohibited. Alright, so now we're on to the general ghost stories section. One of the most frequently seen ghosts is one of the executed servicemen, Private Lee Davis. He was executed for rape and murder. He refused to admit his wrongdoings and is believed to still walk the hallways today. In Wing C, a lady dressed in white is often seen. She is thought to be a ghost of a woman who was either executed or died of a broken heart. Stories vary. She was convicted for murdering her fiancé in 1680, and she died in her sleep wearing the wedding dress that she would have been married in. She died the night before her execution. The kitchen is also supposedly a hotspot. Workers who were renovating this part of the prison before it was closed reported seeing a man dressed in military police uniform come through the wall at the end and walk straight down the corridor. After this, they refused to continue working on the site, and an investigation was carried out, though it found nothing. The soldier was thought to be a spirit of the member of the American Army's firing squad who was killed in the yard after a bullet ricocheted off a wall during an execution and killed him. Captain Philip William was a man who died in 1914. He climbed onto the roof of the prison via an unattended ladder in the exercise yard. There are conflicting reports on whether he was trying to escape or kill himself. Either way, his final words before he fell were, "Get back, get back, get back," and these words were heard echoing around the yard for years by dozens of inmates. Cell doors are often heard opening and then slamming on their own. Footsteps are heard on walkways when there isn't anybody around. People report being touched by unseen hands and burning sensations being inflicted on their body. Temperature drops are often felt when entering certain rooms and parts of the prison. All in all, it's hard to debate that the prison is haunted when you have all these first-hand experiences. I did do a little ghost investigation whilst we were there, so that video will be coming out shortly.